What's up, Michigan State fans? It's Jacob Patsik here back for another episode of the Michigan State Spartans Insider Podcast. This is kind of the podcast for Monday, March 16th, 2026. I'm recording this about 10 p.m. on Selection Sunday. Just got back from the Breslin Center. Uh, Saw both selection shows, both the men's and the women's teams. Michigan, but we'll focus more on the men here, but we'll talk a bit more about the women as well. Both teams making the NCAA tournament. No surprises there. Michigan State men's basketball getting a 3 seed in the tournament. MSU women getting a 5 seed in the tournament. So again, kind of go to the men first. I mean, obviously the big news here, but again, a lot of people hoped that they were going to get the 2 seed. I thought they were going to get the 2 seed but then when Purdue beat Michigan in the Big Ten tournament championship, you kind of figured 4 wins in 4 days for Purdue, beating the team that MSU lost to, beating Michigan as well. It would be tough to keep them off that 2 line. And when they showed the bracket, Purdue's a 2 seed, MSU is a 3. And they released the overall seed list. Purdue is 8, the last 2 seed. Michigan State is a 3, the top 3 seed. So you just missed out on that. If anyone other than Purdue won the Big Ten tournament, you're probably looking at a 2 seed in the West region. Instead, MSU got a draw that I don't think you can be super happy with. 3 seed in the East region. Looking at the bracket, I haven't done like a deep analysis of it, but looking at the bracket, the East has got to be the toughest one to come out of. If I'm Duke, I'm kind of mad too because they're the number one overall seed. For one, that's part of what makes the region tough. Uh, Duke is Duke, number one overall seed, but they're in the same region. Just list off the coaches here. You've got John Shire at Duke. You have Danny Hurley at UConn, multiple national titles, recent national titles. Again, Izzo as well, of course. You've got Bill Self at Kansas. You've got Rick Pitino at St. John's. And like just those names right off the bat. I mean, still you got some other coaches too that are kind of right up. Like I think Pat Kelsey's a very good coach. Hasn't really proven it in March yet, but I think he's the guy who can do it. If he keeps at it. Mick Cronin's made a Final Four. He's the UCLA's the 7 seed in this region. But like just it's kind of the region of death in multiple ways. Of course, as you might know, they're playing North Dakota State, 14 seed in the first round. Don't know a ton about the Bison. I'm not sitting down watching a bunch of NDSU basketball. They are a decent 3-point shooting team. Kind of a thing you don't want to hear when you're playing one of those feisty mid majors. I guess Summit League is a pretty decent league. One thing that did stand out was trying to see sometimes when you're playing a game like this, you want to kind of gauge how that team has done against high major competition. And North Dakota State, they didn't play a high major team this season until Thursday. But they like last year they played Bryan. Bryan played like St. John's and Syracuse or something earlier on the year, and like that kind of gave you a gauge of like, okay, here's how they've done in the past on that. But there's really nothing for North Dakota State. Pull up the net. They've played 0 quad 1 games this year, and they've played 1 quad 2 game. It was a road game at St. Thomas. So not a whole lot, not the most difficult schedule of all times, but so maybe maybe if you're the optimist, you're looking at that as an advantage of like they really haven't seen anything like Michigan State before, but also we haven't seen how North Dakota State looks against a high major team. They're game planning for teams that are below MSU's level. I tend to lean more to the optimist side on that way. But of course, you're a 3-14 game. You should be winning that one, but it's not. It's not a gimme. 14 seeds win sometimes. I mean, most years, maybe not most years. I don't know what the actual record of it is, but it's not. 15 seeds beat 2 seeds more often than they do in the past. Both 16s over ones have happened relatively recently. So upsets in March have happened more often in recent memory because I do think especially like with recruiting the way that it is now with social media, like it's a lot easier to find talent, which I think has shrunken. I'm talking really macro level. You can talk about the portal and stuff like that, but I think like when you're talking about like 1980 to now, not that I was what you guys, you can tell I'm not watching too much 1980s basketball, but you look at the stats, we'll have the biggest upsets in history have happened last decade or so, but it happened less often in 1980 than it happens now. I do think since it's a lot easier for coaches to find talent because you can use the internet now, that gap has shrunk from the top of Division One to the bottom. But again, but don't know. I can't really give you a supreme expert opinion on North Dakota State. I'm probably going to watch some of their highlights after this. Look more into their team individually, what their players are, what their pieces are. We'll talk more about that in the coming days. But after that, you get Louisville or South Florida. So Louisville, decent ACC team. They're a 6 seed, a team I do think MSU would beat on a neutral court if it comes to this, and kind of goes with South Florida. Again, don't know too much about them. One of the best players, though, Malik Brown, I believe his name is. He scores about 18 points a game. He's kind of like in a questionable status injury wise. He had missed Louisville's last 4 games, including their two ACC tournament games. So we'll have to see what his status is for that one. I do think one of the changes the NCAA has this year is there's availability reports for like injury reports for March Madness games. So that might help MSU out just a little bit if that's the matchup you're talking about in the second round. South Florida is a team that worries me. Um, I mean, just blandly looking at their schedule, they've won 11 straight games or so. It's a long win streak entering the tournament. And they've won their conference tournament. They won it on Sunday, actually, I believe. And so maybe Louisville will knock them off too, because again, that's only 3 days to prep for an NCAA tournament game where you're flying up from Miami. I can't remember where South. I think like they play Tampa. They're in Tampa, and they fly from Tampa to Buffalo. So that's going to be a tough task for them. But still, they've won a lot of games in a row. They won their conference. When you're looking at like an 11 seeded team, those like decent like those mid major schools and like those kind of like decent conferences that where you're kind of close to that at large stats. Those are the teams that worry me more than those at large teams that just kind of squeak in, where they have kind of maybe a mediocre record. So kind of just looking at that, we'll see who they play if they get to that point. Again, you just got to take care of North Dakota State first. But after that, but still overall, real tough region. Your top 2 seeds, we've seen MSU play both of them. Duke came to East Lansing and won, so maybe it doesn't speak the most optimism when you're talking about a neutral court. It is in DC. If they play them if MSU plays Duke in the Elite Eight, it would be in DC. Same location as the 2019 upset game, if you believe in that sort of thing. If you think that has some sort of effect, just something to go with here. But UConn played UConn on the road in an exhibition game. It was like I think it was their second exhibition game. UConn beat them relatively soundly. I think the score kind of got closer towards the end than what it really was. But again, road game doesn't really mean anything though. Again, really kind of both sides of it. But Duke's was a regular season game. It was in East Lansing, so that matters a little bit more. But UConn's was an exhibition game in October. I had to pay a couple bucks to go watch it. So doesn't really mean a whole lot as far as what it might happen on the court come the Sweet 16 if those two teams play, which frankly I expect them to, because I expect that to UCLA though. I did fill out a bracket for the SI bracket challenge that got sent to me. I felt like I'm going to put Michigan State in the Elite Eight. If MSU plays UConn, wouldn't surprise me, but I was like, let's have a UCLA upset over UConn. You got to throw an upset here or there. I did kind of have a chalky bracket, admittedly. But hey, threw a UCLA over UConn upset in the second round in there. I do think UCLA is playing really good basketball. They should get Bilodeau and Dent back. So UConn's kind of been topsy-turvy at times this year. They've lost some games they shouldn't. So that was an upset that I predicted though. But if you really pressured me on it, you're probably talking MSU UConn Sweet 16 would be more of my real prediction here. But you got to predict an upset or two. That's how March Madness goes. The top seeds don't win every single time. I will say Final Four though. I did have Duke beating Michigan State in the Elite Eight. I'm trying to remember the other ones. I did have Michigan in my Final Four. I just don't think their region's very good. I think Iowa State's their 2 seed. That's a team that I haven't watched a whole lot of Iowa State. They're a good team. I mean, they almost beat Arizona, but still, I think Michigan's better than all those other teams in their region. Who else? I think I had Purdue in there because again, they're coming with a ton of momentum. that one might bite me. That one makes me a little bit nervous. I'm trying to remember who I had coming out of. I think I had Houston coming out of the final region. So I think I had Duke beating Houston in the semifinal. Again, I'm trying to just remember what I put down. You can go actually probably go find it if you search my name, my username, which is just my name, uh, at the bottom here. But I think I had Duke, Michigan in the national championship game with Duke winning over the Wolverines. I think those are the two best teams in college basketball. I think there's some separation between those two teams and the rest. So that's what I went with. It's kind of boring, admittedly. Uh, when I went upstairs in the Breslin Center and actually watched the women's selection show, they were showing some of their analyst predictions. I think like Jay Billis had MSU in the national title game, losing to Arizona. I was like, okay. And then Seth Greenberg, I believe it was, came in with the 105-mile-an-hour fastball and had Michigan State in the national title game, with Michigan winning, and that would be kind of a sports version, in at least in the state of Michigan, of like a nuclear Armageddon. Like I can't imagine, because that game's in Indianapolis too. It's driving distance, so I can only imagine how hot that ticket would get. But yeah, let's shift to the women's side though. Five seed missed out on hosting. If you get a top four seed, top 16 overall seed in the women's tournament, you get to host the first two rounds on campus. So MSU misses out on that. We kind of knew this actually already. They revealed the top 16 the other day. MSU wasn't on it. So you're thinking, okay, five seed it is. They will go to Norman, Oklahoma, and they will play Colorado State in their first game. They win, they're probably going to play Oklahoma, because Oklahoma's hosting. And Oklahoma has to get through Idaho first, but again, not as many upsets in the women's tournament as there are in the men's. So you're almost certainly looking at Oklahoma in the second round. Get through Colorado State first, though. One of the interesting things about this game that I quickly noticed looking at the stats, Colorado State is first in the nation in turnovers. There's a lot of turnovers usually in women's basketball, but Colorado State only averages about 10 of them per game, which is really, really low, really, really impressive. One of the reasons MSU's become kind of a great team under Robin Freilich is that they forced a lot of turnovers. I think they were near the top last season, and they're like third in the Big Ten this season, about in the 30s, averaging about 20 turnovers forced per game. So how is MSU going to do in that department in this one? Colorado State's defense is also top 10 in the nation, points allowed per game. I don't know if that might be a pace stat or if it's just they have a really sound defense. Might be a little bit of both. Obviously, I really haven't watched it. So again, I can't give you a supreme expert opinion. This is just me kind of box score watching, look at these stats here. But yeah, so see that Oklahoma's a bit on the other side. They score a ton of points, averaging. I think they're top 10. I think they're like third in the country in points per game. They score like 86 points per game, tons of points. I mean, they're a 4 seed for a reason. They're going to be near the top in some aspects, but they're also a really, really good rebounding team. Top 10 on the glass at both the offensive and defensive ends. They're in South Carolina's region. So if you get to the Sweet 16, you're probably playing the Gamecocks, not a team, but top seeds this year in women's basketball, I think, are a whole lot better than all the others. I might have picked an all one seed Final Four, which isn't all that unusual in the women's tournament. Again, fewer upsets than in the men's one. I think I picked it's probably going to be UCLA UConn in the final. That's what I had. I think I picked UCLA. I saw them play Michigan State, and I said, and they destroyed MSU, and I was like, okay. And UCLA, there was an argument for them to be the one seed over UConn, even though UCLA did have one loss to fellow one seed Texas, and UConn was undefeated. But UConn got the number one overall seed. UCLA was second. But UCLA is really good. They're a Big Ten team, so I went with the Big Ten team. But yeah, that's kind of it. That's kind of my thoughts on the draws for both the men's and the women's side of things. We'll be talking about it more. I'm going to Buffalo on Wednesday. See if I can catch the open practice. But again, the men's game is on Thursday at 4:05 approximately, I'm pretty sure, on TNT. And the women's game, I don't think they've announced the tip time, at least as I'm recording this. It is on a Friday though, so you'll have it on back-to-back days, which will be nice. Make it easier for everyone to watch. But yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. There'll be plenty of written content on whatever's going on in Michigan State sports, which there is plenty right now. You can get all of it at Michigan State Spartans on SI or SpartanNation.com. But thank you though for listening or watching wherever you are taking this in. Thank you once again. But yeah, that's all. Once again though, I'm Jake Patsnika. I'll see you guys around.